So if you do the right thing, which is that water that was shooting through, still shooting through, is slowed up. It's not completely stopped. And a lot of it is spending a bit more time there soaking in. The natural response is it'll grow stuff. And if you get in there first and say, this is what I want you to grow, this is what I want growing, off you go. And later on, you'll have to walk people up those canyons and say, we built this. And this was actually, we did this. But they'll say, no, this is natural. This has always been like this. And you have to say, no, we built this. We actually did this, because you won't be able to, you won't recognize it later on. It will completely change it.
So if we want to repair this one to start with.
No problem. Not a problem. Come down here and I'll do it for you. Let's go. First gabion there.
First gabion right here.
With the largest backup at the highest point of the valley. Don't go into the steep slope. Come right there, stick your wall in there, bring it up to this height here, kick it back right back up there. You're nearly back in those pegs. We'll bury those pegs for the guy. He won't be able to find them. Right. It'll be higher than those pegs. Right. Bring the wall, key it up in here. Bring the wall up to there. There's no point in being higher. If you go any higher, the water will go over there. We don't want that. We'll start another hot spot. So that's the top there. And like why I choose that spot is because at this point, well, there isn't anything higher. There isn't anything higher. At this point, we can hold that much dirt. Okay. Right? And it would fill in tomorrow's rain. By Monday, she'd be full. If you build it today, she'd be full on Monday if we get that rain you're talking about. You'll have that much wet soil right here, and it'll taper back. I mean, I'm guessing on my levels now, but it's going to hit the guy's pegs. Like we're going to come in like there, and we're going to come up there, and this will all be wet soil there, and that'll be a dam of damp dirt. You want to start at the very top of a valley. Okay. And it wouldn't matter even if it's a side valley to start with. It doesn't have to be a big valley, but we can do the big valleys, no problem. And then, you know, stage by stage, job by job. I mean, it's not a quick journey, but it's a good journey. And the young people will get into it. They'll love it. It's no problem. They'll see what we're doing, and then it's really gets to be nice. All you're going to do, right, is slow the water down. So this water right at the moment, is probably that high when it comes through on the biggest events. Right there, it's probably there. But on the average event, it's probably here, right? And that's sort of, that's quite good stuff in there. But like, it's probably, like you can see that cut line there, that grass wasn't taken out. So it's probably there on the average event. Now that's concentrated, that's like a pipe of water coming out like that. And what it's done, as it's come down there, it's gone a little bit slower just there. Actually, the first bore point, it's stepped here and it's bored. Yeah, there's a, look at that. There's a foot of quite good soil in there. That's been deposited and dumped in. There's the rock at the bottom. There's another rock here that's created that event. Now, as it comes down here, it's going quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And now it hits a steeper slope, and it really goes quick now. And then it goes into a waterfall and joins that one, and bang. Now what you've done is, you've taken that water from here, and now, at this point, having come over there, it's now this wide. Instead of being like that, or like that, it's now this wide, and it's that thick. Yeah. It's just a narrow sheet of water, because water levels itself and it levels the silt. So as the water hits the back of that, it spreads out and spreads out and spreads out and keeps spreading out, because it's on a level silt field, little level silt field. And then if you got it right, it sheets over. Now if you were gonna make it a little spillway in the top, because it's going to sheet over for really big events, you'd want to drop it on there. You would want to what?
Drop it onto that piece. Right there.
Drop it on the sheet that's already there. So rather than dropping it over there, where it might hit this and bore a hole out of here, we don't want that. we could drop it on this side and drop it onto that rock. That's on the big one. What we have to do is we have to go back and look at your average event. So that's something like that, it looks like. I'm doing this pretty quick, by the way. You sort of walk around here quite a lot and think quite a lot about this, but there's sort of a pipe of water about that big on the larger event. That's the size that we have to kind of spread across there. And then we know the major event goes that way. The major events, there will always be a little bit there. On a very, 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 very big event, this will be full and that. But it won't matter if we can get past the next couple of years and we don't get 100-year, vegetation will hold it. We'll get the vegetation in because this will be a wet hole, damp hole. And these trees which grow like that,
Right.
like that tree, that's a shot actually. That tree that grows like that, give it a wet soil. Give that Kiave wet soil and tons of goat shit and see what kind of, you know, Prosopis pallida you get growing. I mean, these are quite a good house building tree. If you come on down, like what we're going to see is it will go steep and then it'll go shallow again. See them rocks there that two men can just pick up with a stretcher? You need a steel stretcher.
Yeah.
Where we're building smaller gabions, which there'll be a lot of small gabions to do here, right, starting at the top, what I do is I go to the local metalwork shop. I say, make me a steel stretcher. And I make up a stretcher like this, out of sort of 1-inch square tube. And at each end I put a set of handles, like that. And actually I put a raised section here too, so the rock doesn't actually roll on anybody in case. And I got pictures of these, and it is absolutely amazing what two young guys can do when they just stand there. You try picking up two guys with an awkward rock. I mean, someone's going to get a bad back real easy. But if you can go down like this and you can get two handles and stand up with a straight back, you can pick two people up. You can probably pick three people up. Quite easy. It's not hard to pick a person up on that stretch layer. So you can pick quite large rocks up just with one of these metal stretchers. And it's not bad work at all, because you've just taken the awkwardness out of handling rock. And you're just walking across country and dumping rock. You can roll the rock onto a rock stretcher like that and stand up. Of course, if you can get in with an excavator with rock grab, you can build it with an excavator. But there are places here where you ain't going to get into some of it. I reckon we could lift some of these big ones here. A couple of strong guys and a steel stretcher. And you need to lock the big ones in. When we come down, why I chose that is it's a narrow neck and a long back up. But when we go down here, it's wider and you gain nothing for your work. Right. So go on down to the next narrow spot that backs up and go on down to the next and keep doing that downhill. They're going to get bigger as they go down, but they're going to hold more. The great thing about starting at the top is, right, you start small and you have much less chance of blowing out. See, you could actually, while you had this many rocks and a few active guys, you could put a little one in here.
Right there.
It's not a lot of great value. It's actually a rock already here, look. This rock's already here. It's almost one like here, look. Yeah, because it's
one right here,
yeah.
Yeah.
You got this little neck here. It's getting bigger already. And see that? It's almost. Well, what I always do is pick the low side. It's no point in going higher than that.
Yeah. So maybe come more down here.
Well, if we don't want the water going over there.
Yeah.
So if we now come to here, we're almost lined up with that loose rock there.
Yeah.
Come back a little bit. Now, we've almost gone back to the toe of the last gabion. If you can do that a few times, you take all the power.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
I know this is a bit of a build, this one, but you've got, again, if we get this repeated, we've got no erosion because it's going to hit that solid rock on the other side. Yeah, from that rock,
Wow, okay.
right?
Because and then when you backfill here, you'll be almost level with that other gap. You know, maybe you'll be about a foot or so.
You'd be here on the soil will be on our eyes.
Yes, so you'll be about 3 feet.
So this is, all that's damp soil. And that soil down there is never going to dry out in 12 months.
No.
Right.
Now you put the
because
type
it's
of
such a huge
water
rock.
shady trees around that, they are going to boom. And then they're going to shade it. Now the next year it's not going to dry out again, ever. And we're only on the second gabion.
Right.
We're only on the second gabion. That's what's going to fill the gabion. It's like, that's better than desert soil, that is. And you've got all that goat manure and dead goats and bits of animals and insects, all that stuff. Here's your water channel. Look at this. Here's the water channel. It's not as big as we thought. There's the annual water channel. There, look. That's the once a year. That's all. That's the once a year there, look.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the pipe. That's all we're actually dealing with here at the moment. See it there? It's painted. There's a little miniature gabion. See, all this shit's going to end up in there as well.
Grass here.
It's not just soil, it's going to be full of mulch and soil.
Yeah.
You've got another event starting there,
Right.
and you've got a narrow neck to close off.
So we just close that off.
Now, if you close that off and close the other side, this whole thing becomes a silt field.
Right.
See, it's what it's done, it's ribboned here. It's
Right.
gone two sides. We've picked up another bit of gully.
Right.
Now it's going to get more serious lower down. But if we put one across there and the same height across the other side, we've locked this right off. It's because the erosion's coming off the side of the valleys. That's where it's coming from. It's not coming out the bottom of the valley, it's coming off the side. And then we've got, we've got a few issues here because we've got like 3 different feral animals. Goats, deer and pigs are up there. When you get it right, the goats can't breed as quick as the trees can grow. So if you keep sort of managing the goats, just holding them back, the trees will grow quicker than the goats can breed. See, there's a sort of double gully.
Yeah.
You put one over there, I see.
It's almost like this wall lines up with that wall.
I see what you're saying.
And you might actually be able to put
belongs right here,
one,
right?
a little one, just a line of rocks across the top. Maybe, and don't worry, once you start doing big ones, don't shy away from doing little ones on the side if you have to. Because what is, you get carried away with building monsters and you forget about little ones also do quite a lot.
That's where they form.
That's where it forms, yeah. But you haven't got to go far for your material.
That's what I found so impressive about it is that, a volunteer effort in a day would accomplish a lot.
Well, yeah, and they'd come back and see an event. They'd see something. I mean, it's a year, but it's a year to see it. It's rainy season to rainy season. It's one rain to the next. We've got a little one across there.
I wish we could do something up there.
This rock is a real advantage to spill it because one of the problems with gabions is if you get it wrong, when the spillway goes over the other side, it bores a hole and undermines the gabion. That's what pulls them down.
You want to try to take advantage of this, huh?
So that seems to be a repeated pattern.
Right.
The rock's just there. And the spots are going to get easier to choose as we go down now, because that's going to get really level. There's a beautiful spot there. That's a cracker.
But doesn't it have to be a lot wider now?
It is going to be wider, but you're going to find that for the width, you're going to get this enormous amount of backup for the work you put in.
It almost becomes a large swale at this point, right?
It's a dam. It's literally the pattern of a dam. Yeah, that's a good spot.
Right, good spot right here.
And it's got the rock again. You've got a repeated pattern.
You got the same pattern as that first one.
Landscapes like that, once you get 3 or 4 repeats, you can kind of say it's going to keep happening. This one's a cracker here. This is a...
Yeah.
Look at that, like a recent rain made up the
It would keep the silt out of his fish ponds.
Yeah, up there.
Keep it up here, yeah.
That's what you've got to do. That's the only way you could economically do this.
That's why we want to do this, is to clean the reef. Because our reef looks like mud sometimes.
I'd say, if you went down in those big ones, I know they're saying they're really huge and all the rest of it. If you went down there, there'd be the same thing at the bottom, and you could do the same thing up them canyons, and you get a rainforest in that canyon next door. Rainforest.
Yeah.
No problem. Rainforest right down to the beach, going all the way up that deep, because it's shady. You make it shady and wet in this tropical temperature, you got rainforest. You just got to make sure it's deposited in soil. Those deep ones would be rainforest. Right in the bottom, there must be a little bit like this too. And you get deposition down there, you get rainforest because of the shade. because it's so much cooler down in there. If you can get big enough rocks in position, you get little floodbacks, you'll get little pockets of rainforest forming. And the seed will come from the top, or you can make the seed come down from the top. Pick the flattest spot where you can get the most backup for the work you put in. And where it's flattened off on the sides, when you've got side slopes that are reasonably flat, build a little rock wall on contour off the gabion, off the wall of the gabion, and back up a little swale, rock wall swale that silts up. You don't have to back it up with soil, it'll back itself up with soil. Everything that sort of spreads and soaks the water takes the pressure off the gully. And as soon as you take the pressure off the water, the destructive force becomes a creative force.
Yes. I see exactly what.
And that's what people did originally with all this landscape, and then that creative force became productivity in creation. And next minute you got 40,000 people living in one valley with all that work power. You only got 7,000 people on the island, and they're not all Hawaiian. Because you've got so many rocks, and it's not
a problem, so you have to make more gabion.
And some of the young guys, the fit young guys like Brian in the course, like the big birdie guys, they get very skilled at it. They're working up here doing this. They get quite skilled at gabion building.
But I think what
It's probably in the heritage. Probably something in that genetic encoding that get it anyway. I think we've seen what we need to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the idea.
Yeah.
We have the idea.